Hello, happy people, and welcome to your Moment of Zed, the YouTube channel dedicated to the most beautiful car in the world, the BMW Z3, or as the folks in Key Lottie call it, the Z3. I'm Mark, and today we're going to work on our rear brakes. I've noticed my braking power has been reduced a little bit lately. Probably need to do all four corners. We're going to start with the rears, and I've actually had some viewer requests to do this, so we're going to go ahead and get this done today. But first, we have a Zed of the Week.
And today we have Justin Jr. from Austin, Texas with his 1998 1.9-liter 5-speed Roadster with 105,000 miles. Now, Justin plans on doing a drift build with this car. So far, he's done a muffler delete and has a MagnaFlow aftermarket resonator. And it looks like he also has an extra cat. That is Casper enjoying the view from the top. Thank you so much for submitting, Justin. Enjoy that and good luck with the build.
Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful car. If you'd like to see your car on Zed of the Week, please follow the easy instructions in the description below. Now on to those brakes.
Okay, here's the parts we're using today, and I'm going to say it just once to save myself some breath. Link to everything I use in the description and all the websites I use to make decisions on why I bought these particular ones. So that's all going to be linked. I went with the Zimmerman BMW Coat Z disc. Now, I didn't go with slotted, vented, and drilled rotors. Look, I use my car on the street. I know there's a million and one choices in rotors. I kind of went with a high-quality standard one. It's just a regular rotor. Similar to what I have now. I don't take my car to the track. I don't need to spend thousands of dollars on Brembo or something like that. I did upgrade the brake pads a little bit. I went with the Akebono ceramic pads, the Euro Ultra Premium. That was at the suggestion of a much larger automotive YouTuber. So I went with those and should reduce the brake dust significantly. And then I'm going to go ahead, and I didn't have to, but I'm going to replace my brake pad wear sensor with this BOA product. All of this is from FCP Euro, by the way. I really only bought this because I needed it. I needed to spend a little more money to get a discount, so we're just going to go ahead and replace it anyways. It's not really even a part you have to have, but we have them, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that. Okay, tools you're going to need: a hammer, a pair of needle nose pliers, a flat-bladed screwdriver, either a bungee or a piece of coat or wire coat hanger to hold up your caliper, some brake lubricant, some brake parts cleaner, some PB Blaster, WD-40, or some kind of penetrant, a wire brush, a 7mm and a 6mm Allen, a 16mm socket or wrench, and a pair of channel locks or a C-clamp or something to compress the caliper piston. If you have an electric impact ratchet, that would be a good thing as well. That would come definitely in handy. Okay, so we are on the passenger side. That's where the brake pad wear sensor is. And we're looking at the car from the rear, obviously the wheels off. There's the connection to the brake pad wear sensor. And it's not super easy to get to. A curved pair of needle nose is your best bet. But if you don't own one of those, you just kind of grab it and wiggle and loosen and pull. And there's the actual sensor part that came out. I did pre-wiggle it a little bit before I filmed. And by the way, I kind of sprayed everything down with brake cleaner first just to make things a little more obvious. My car is not as clean as it looks right now. Next thing is pull the cap for the brake bleed, because that wear sensor cord goes under there like that, and then I'll just put it back so it doesn't get messy. I'm not bleeding brakes today. And then we'll go over to the front. So I skipped some scenes of me unclipping the wire for the brake pad wear sensor to get to where it is connected to the car itself, which is right here. Now you can pry this connection out with a flat blade from the top, and it will pop right out. Unfortunately, the car side of this connection, it's a difficult connection to get to see, to reach. The plastic of the car side literally crumpled in my hand, so I stopped trying to replace my brake pad wear sensor. And I'd suggest if you're going to do it, you proceed with caution, because that plastic is typical BMW brittle. All right, nothing I like better than starting a project out with a fail. Let's get to the meat of these brakes, what we're really doing. I'm not going to worry about that wear sensor. Number one, and not everybody does this, but I'm going to just loosen up the cap on the brake reservoir, because we're going to have to squeeze that brake piston on the caliper open to put in the new pads, and that'll give us a little less pressure. Not everybody does that. It's not critical, but I'm going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to do the main part of my filming on the side where there is no brake pad wear sensor. That's the driver's side. Now, the thing that's on this side, though, is the emergency brake, or the hand brakes. And right now, the hand brake's up. So this is stopped. And the first thing I want to do, and a lot of people do this later after they take off the caliper, but I just want to get this. This is a 6mm hex that holds the rotor to the hub. Now, this may have never come off, I don't know, but this could be tough. So we're going to work on that. I'm just going to work on it off camera. If you break this or strip it, God help you, you're in big trouble. So I'm going to work on that carefully and not film it. I hit it with penetrating spray several times starting last night, so hopefully that will help. But again, that guy right there is your 6mm hex, or Allen key. All right, and that's what that guy looks like right there. Rather small, but important. All I did was I just tapped the end of the Allen key with a hammer, just real gentle. Came right out, no problem. I'm going to clean this up. And everything that's corroded and during this job, just assume I'm going to clean it up with a wire brush. And if it's appropriate, hit it with Never Sees. I don't need to show you that, but that's just always a good idea. I may not hit this with Never Sees, but I'm going to clean it up. Okay, so by the way, I just put that back into the hub, just real loose. This is not going to fall off. This is probably corroded on here, and it's going to be a ton of work. But that's for another moment. Right now, we're going to take off the brake pad anti-rattle clip. And now this is a spring-loaded clip. So I'm just going to take a flathead screwdriver and pry at it. Now, this could go flying on you, so protect your face. And there we go. So again, looking at the car from behind, before we remove the pins to pull the caliper assembly off, we need to get some space because it's still attached to the rotor. And I usually wouldn't pry against braking surfaces, but since we're replacing everything, it's going to take a flat blade in there between the pad and the rotor, and compress that. Compress that piston to give us the room we need to take off the caliper. Open up a little space there. All right. All right, next step on our brake journey is to remove the caliper from the caliper bracket. So to do that, we're going to remove this. There's two pins, which should be 7mm Allens, but they are being protected by a plastic cap. So we need to remove that cap, and I can see mine is going to need a little bit more than just hand power. Okay, it's kind of funny because you can see straight up one of my caps is just plain missing, and then the other one doesn't want to come off. But we're we're just going to get in here with the flat blade screwdriver, which is a handy little item on this project. And I'm just going to slowly pry it out. There it goes. And that gives us access to the 7mm hex pins. Okay, so off camera I use the same technique of putting in the Allen and then just tapping it with a hammer gently till they broke loose. They broke loose pretty easily, and then we're just going to go ahead and pull them out. Okay, once you have, I have the bottom pin out and about to take the top pin out, get ready for that brake caliper to fall. And when it does, might not be able to see it, but I've got a bungee hooked up ready to hang it, because you don't want to have it hanging off the brake line, put stress on that brake line. Don't want to replace brake lines today, maybe someday, but not today. And once this top pin is out, and it takes a number of turns, this brake caliper assembly is going to just kind of be on its own. Okay, again, once I pull this pin out, this caliper should, and I can feel it already, it's going to come right off. So there's the upper pin, lower one's out already, and again, that caliper assembly should come right off, and there it goes. And again, I've got a bungee ready to receive it. I just got to find a good place to hook onto, about right there, so we don't stress out the brake line. And then I'm going to pull the brake pads off, and let's take a look at them. All right, so kind of an important step a lot of people don't talk about, but you got to make sure that your new pads match your old pads as far as you know, how they're going to go back on the car. And looks like, as far as I can tell, we've got a perfect match as far as the lobes that attach it, and as far as the size. Now, the crazy part is the difference. I mean, you look how much brake pad I had left compared to new ones. Yeah, I was down to probably, geez, 15-20%. So, you know, not metal on metal, but I was trying anyways. So, a good time to replace them. And then, of course, the clips need to be exactly the same, because that's what has to clip into the piston. And I think we're all set on this. I think we're good to go. And again, similar wear pattern on the old one. Okay, next is to remove the two 16mm bolts that hold the caliper bracket onto the hub. And if I were you and I had a electric impact ratchet, I would use that on these. I used just a regular 16mm wrench, actually using the box end, and then I just tapped that with a hammer until I broke them loose after I hit them with PB Blaster penetrating fluid, because I do not want to deal with broken bolts again. So just nice and easy and gentle, and let it work itself out. And then we're just going to go ahead, we'll clean those bolts up as well. And 2 bolts, 16mm, and then the bracket. One of these days is going to come free, and there it is. So we're going to clean that up too. Okay, so next step is we need to remove the old rotor. Now this it's going to be stuck. Yours been on for a while, it's probably going to be stuck. Huge important step. Put your handbrake to the off position, put it to the down position, because that's going to hold this on. What else is going to hold it on is corrosion. I pulled out that 6mm hex bolt completely off again, but now we're going to have to take, and a lot of people hammer it from the back, but another technique I've seen is actually hammering on the front, and you should have a bigger mallet than this. I don't, unfortunately, and hammering around the edge. Again, make sure that parking brake's off or you're going to break the thing more than likely. But I'm just going to tap the front of this, and we'll see what happens. If I have to tap the back, I will. What I didn't mention was I did put penetrating oil in all the lug bolt holes and the other hole again. And as I'm hammering on it, I'm actually, and you won't be able to see it, but I'm actually starting to get bubbles into the penetrating fluid. So that probably means I'm starting to make some space. But I've been hitting the front, and I have to admit I've been hitting the back. And then you can just work it around and then hit another portion and hit another portion and so on. So I'm going to keep working at that, and it just could take a while. Again, patience, be gentle, more penetrating fluid. It's all good. Okay, that beat on the front, beat on the back, and work around technique and hit it with a PB Blaster finally paid off. Excuse the shaky cam, but there's the old rotor, and you can see the parking brake. It's just an old-fashioned drum brake that latches onto the inside of the rotor. And I'm just going to clean all this up. Now, if you needed to adjust your parking brake, this would be a good time to do it. The adjustment wheel's right here to move them in or out. Mine looks fine. I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up. And I'm going to wire brush this the hub face and this so it's not so messy. I'm just clean everything up in preparation for the new rotor. Now, I'll tell you what, my old rotor is not like my pads. It's not that bad. It's grooved, but it's not deeply grooved. It's not warped. It's not bent. It's not chipped. There's nothing really wrong with it. I probably could have just done brake pads. But for the price, and again, these were $43 a piece, the Zimmermans, I decided to swap them out while I'm back here. And by the way, the brake pads were $47 for the entire set. So they are identical, and we're going to put the new one on. Okay, putting the new rotor on. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that that 6mm bolt in. And tighten it up real snug. Okay, next step is to compress the caliper piston, because we're gonna need a lot of extra room. Now, to do this, you need a C-clamp, or I'm gonna try channel locks. Hopefully that'll work. You need to press that piston. Sorry, right there. Press that piston down so you have room to put the new, much thicker brake pads on. Now, a little trick I was told was to, so you don't compress the caliper unevenly, is to go ahead and snap that old brake pad back into the hole and then clamp on that instead of, you know, that round. Okay, I think I found the technique now. C-clamp would be a better way to go with this, but if you're going to use the channel locks, coming at it from the side a little bit, and it doesn't really matter because with that brake pad on there, it's still evening out my force, so I can get a little bit of a bite on there. And now maybe, I still can't go, and get a little bit more on the center now. That's getting a little shorter. And we're just going to keep squeezing that until we're flush. So next step, I cleaned up the caliper bracket using a wire brush and some brake cleaner. And I'm just going to go ahead and lube the areas where things slide around. Right in here, just with this brake lubricant. Just bought a little bit at O'Reilly's because I knew I wasn't going to need a whole lot. I'm just going to put some in here and I'll spread it around, probably with a Q-tip or something. If you buy a big can of this stuff, you'll get a brush with it, which is probably what you should do if you're going to do brake jobs. But I'll just move that around with some with a Q-tip, and then also I'll lubricate those pins, but I'll show you in a minute. Okay, finally time to start putting things back together. First, the caliper bracket, again with the 16mm bolts. I'll look up the torque specs, and if I can find them, I'll put them in the description. But I would say tight as you can, and then some. You don't want these things coming apart on you while you're trying to brake. But again, I'll try and look up those torque specs. Okay, time to put the pads on. And again, got to snap that into the landscapers are next door, of course. Got to snap that into the piston. And I hate pressing on the actual pad material with my greasy fingers, but I'm not going to have much of a choice. This thing does not want to go in easy. Okay, it was a battle, but we got it, and that's in there. Now the other one we can actually just put on the bracket itself. And then we'll just put the caliper over it. And here we go. All locked in, and now we just got to go ahead and put those pins in. Now I cleaned the pins up with a wire brush. I'm going to lubricate them with that same lube and just go ahead and put them in where they belong. And by the way, that's a rubber fitting back there. It looks like metal, I'm sure, in the video, but that's rubber that grips that pin. So try not to damage that when you're working. So I got the pins put back in, and as far as torque goes, I have nowhere to do torque on an Allen wrench anyway, so again, I just went tight as I could. Again, I did grease both pins with the brake lubricant, and don't forget to put the cap on. Now, of course, I was missing a cap and I didn't know it, so I'll put this cap on the bottom because that's the most likely one to get dirty, I suppose. I'll buy another cap and put that in as soon as I get it. Now, one thing that kind of wigged me out was I was like, wait, the pins were so much further in when I took them out. What's the matter? Well, because you've got more pad material, they stick further out because they slide back and forth, dummy. So don't let that wig you out. And again, plastic cap back on into the rubber fitting. And we have one last step. Okay, last step, other than putting the wheel on, is putting on that brake pad anti-rattle clip. Now I've got it where it needs to be down here, and I got eye protection on. I'm going to go ahead and move this over here. And while I'm holding this in, I want to kind of bring this around and there we go. All right. It actually worked better than I thought. Awesome. We're done. Look at that. Actually, last step, I'm going to get my dirty fingerprints off the rotor itself. Now, one thing about these Zimmermans, it has this anti-corrosive coating, which is why it's a little different color maybe than you're used to seeing, which means it's not coated with a temporary coating. A lot of these rotors you need to spray off right at the beginning of your work, but these Zimmermans don't have that coating, so all I'm going to do is get my greasy paw prints off of these because we don't want that on the surface we're braking with. Last step, put the cap back on the brake fluid reservoir.
So folks, there you have it. Pretty simple, much like a brake job on any car. In the future, we'll do the front brakes and we'll bleed the brake system. But until then, if you found this content valuable, please crush that like button as always. And until next time, remember, friends don't let friends drive boring.